The man to push Lachie Neale for the Brownlow goes to new heights, and the second game key forward, proving a number of clubs wrong. All that and more to come on the round so far. But Kane Corns, we start in the red centre. Melbourne back into the top 8. And how good does it feel for Simon Goodwin?
Fascinating game of footy, really. Let's take a look at some of the closing stages where the Saints were coming plus 16 inside 50s and centre clearances 11-2, and they lose. So this is Membry with 4 minutes to go, puts them within 4 points. Gee, they had some opportunities going forward, as did both sides who butchered the ball. To be fair, Rowan Marshall takes that great contested mark. They had to put him to Stephen May. Young King had to take a break after Stephen May completely towed him up the longer the game went on. But they had their moments, but in the end, Melbourne hang on by the skin of their teeth and maintain touch with the 8.
St Kilda, 5 games this year decided by a goal less, Kane. They're 1-4. This moment is huge. Michael Hibberd, Jake Lever coming off his man, but Michael Hibberd was off with a serious ankle injury earlier in the match. Massive tackle. Melbourne win the ball back, and it goes back in their favour. We're just having a look here. The final siren goes. St Kilda pressing forward, but the scenes for Simon Goodwin and his boys, this is massive, back into the top 8.
Yeah, it is. I don't think we can seriously take these two sides seriously with the amount of work that they need on their game. I mean, during the third quarter, Melbourne's ball use coming out of the back half was horrific. They kept turning it over, as did St Kilda. And for Melbourne's midfield to get beaten as badly as they did in the important area of centre bounce tonight is a real issue for them, and then to concede as many inside 50s. But that's just a massive relief for Simon Goodwin. Melbourne have been reasonable for the last 5 weeks, but when they are tested, they're far too easy to score against. And unfortunately for St Kilda, they're just losing touch with the 8, and at this rate, they'll be lucky to make it.
Melbourne beat a half-strength Collingwood a few weeks back, but Max Gawn said after the game, this was the scalp they wanted. This is the game they needed to beat a team above them on the ladder. And Christian Petraka, 4 goals, 4 of their 9. He just goes to new heights, Kane.
Yeah, he does remind me a little bit of Dustin Martin for his ability to, sense the moment, and not heaps the ball tonight, but does most of his work in the forward line. And you'd rather the 4 goals on a low-scoring game where no Melbourne forward could really get a hold of it. So to do this, and a couple of big, powerful goals. I mean, this was a statement performance from Christian Petraka tonight, and he's been terrific all year, probably the most improved player in the competition, and very capable of being the best player in the competition in coming years. This goal, 3-on-1, not many can do this in the game. Shrug off your opponent. Now, we'll look at this. I think this was touched, and St Kilda could rightly feel aggrieved. Unfortunately, the goal line technology wasn't there to be able to overturn the umpire's decision. But in a close game, when you lose by a small margin, these ones add up, and I reckon that was touched just sitting from my comfy seat of my lounge chair.
So no camera fixed in the goalpost because it is at the one game for the year at Traeger Park. They took the on-field umpire's goal. I'm fine with that. If they're going to back the goal umpire in, he's as close as anyone there. They're taking his call. Christian Petraka, though, 2 or 3 Brownlow votes tonight. Jack Steele was huge for the Saints. He's probably the only man now that can challenge Lachie Neale for that Brownlow.
Yeah, Travis Boak was the other one. He was quiet today for Port Adelaide. We'll look at that game shortly. But, yeah, he will get all of Melbourne's votes. I can't see anyone taking any votes off him. Look, Lachie Neale's going to, I think, win it easily and deserves to. But it's just a massive performance from a player who now in his 6th season is starting to realise what it takes off the field, I think, and what's required to be a star of this game. He gets it. He's confident. And every time you see him play, he's got that bit of swagger about him now that he knows that he belongs, and he knows he's really hard to stop.
Speaking of swagger, we go to the West next. The Giants, they had it back today in spades. Jeremy Cameron, 4 goals. But this man, Jake Riccardi, overlooked in 2 national drafts. Last year, a mid-season draft, taken at pick 51 as a 20-year-old last year. 4 majors and plucking them out of the air for fun.
Well, how? How's the question? When every team, most teams looking for a key forward, how this guy's been overlooked in a draft and taken at pick 50 by a club that is already stocked with key forwards and stocked with talent is so surprising. And without getting too carried away, he just looks like a really natural footballer. The leading pattern there to get on the end of that one from Himmelberg, his ability to time it in the air and take a big contested mark. And then the goal-kicking action is really fluid and really compact and nice. So there doesn't yet appear to be a weakness in his game, and he's forcing out Finlayson out of the side, which is a big scalp to get from one of your teammates.
Essendon and North had picks, or could have had picks in last year's mid-season draft, chose not to. Collingwood had interest in the national draft last year and didn't take him. All 3 of those clubs would love him in their side right now. He's not related to Peter, though. So for those that thinking the Cats could have him as a father-son, he's not related to Peter Riccardi. Now, the Dockers, they've held their opponents to 37 points on average in the last 5 games. This is the team, the Giants, who pretty much unlocked their inside 50s today. And look at that, 11 marks in the forward half.
Well, it makes a difference when your good players turn up and play to their ability. Whitfield, awesome off half back. Jeremy Cameron kicked 4 goals today. Taranto got plenty of it. Williams was strong. So when their good players turn up to play, and Cornelio 24 disposals as well, I mean, no team should really be able to stay in touch with them, particularly a side like Fremantle who are rebuilding. So no surprises today, but they did get it working. High inside 50 count, that struggled in their game all year, and then their forward line functioned today. And their run and their carry and their dash and their dare off half back was back to somewhat of what we've known for the Giants for a while now.
And Matt de Boer was back from a hamstring injury. With that came the focus on Nat Fyfe. It wasn't just de Boer, it was a number of his teammates. And I think the old tagger and new Kane would have loved every minute of this.
Yeah, I love this. I absolutely love it. So if De Boer's going to play, he plays on the best player. He should be not playing on a wing like Leon Cameron has tried. He goes to the best player each and every week. He makes a statement against the opposition. He targets the best player. And I just think coaches are missing a trick. They just let the good players and midfielders run around and do what they want and get their 30 disposals. And the key word is back their systems in. Well, that really tires me. I love it when the opposition set a target on the best player, go after him like they did tonight. And De Boer to keep Fyfe to 4 disposals in the first half, that set it up for them, forces the opposition coach to do something. They're forced to put Fyfe full forward. He doesn't want to be there. And look, all the talk's going to be about, we must look after Nat Fyfe and the tactics he was holding on, and the umpires didn't pay free kicks like we had with Patrick Cripps a few weeks ago. No. Nothing he did there was illegal. That was just a hard-nosed, disciplined defensive midfielder who set up the game for his side today.
The push into the fence might have been a bit far, but he was held to 11 disposals, his lowest count in a full game outside of injured games since 2010. So they've done something right. Toby Green, he may have taken a little bit of shine off it for the Giants. This incident in the last quarter, now it's off the ball, so we'd think intentional, gets him to the body. If they deem it low impact Kane, this will be a fine. If it's somehow upgraded to medium impact, it would be 1 week. Before I get your take on it, this is his coach, Leon Cameron, when quizzed on it after the match.
I spoke to Toby and he said he just brushed him aside and clearly he went down, but all the talk in our locker room, it's just, he'll be fine. Clearly because it's Toby, it's going to be a headline. We're used to that, but we're not worried. I think the pleasing thing about it is, everyone contributed. Toby contributed, that incident, is probably not going to worry me at all.
I know you didn't want the Tom Lynch one in last week, but this will be looked at. It's hard to see him getting a week, though.
No, he won't get a week. I think it'll be a fine. It's similar to Tom Lynch on Collins from a couple of weeks ago or a couple of games ago. So, yeah, I agree with Leon. It's Toby Green, so we'll speak about it. It'll be a headline. He'll get a fine tomorrow and be free to play next week.
Josh Kelly out for most of the game after concussion. Unlikely to back up against Carlton next week. That'll be huge given both teams will be fighting for that 7th or 8th position on the table. So probably no Josh Kelly midweek next week against the Blues. We go to the Adelaide Oval next. They were made to work for this. The Power, they held on against a gallant Sydney side. Top of the table, and they did it around the clearances.
Yeah, I still think there's some areas in the game they wouldn't be completely happy with, just the way the forward line's functioning and some of their midfield work. But today in the first half, 30-10 clearances in the first half, and this was what set the game up. Love this kick here from Carl Amon. Like, this is where a forward wants it. Don't bomb it to the top of the goal square. Give it some penetration and some flatness, which they did for Dixon. So they kicked 9 stoppage goals today, and a couple of those from forward 50 stoppage. So it was a solid performance from Port Adelaide. Sydney were admirable, particularly after half-time, and they made it a little bit difficult, shutting down some of Port Adelaide's ball movement. But they're just doing enough, aren't they? They're building 5 changes to this side, so they'll be really keen to get a run into Burton and into Marshall and into Rosie. So, they'll get a good 3 or 4 weeks run at it before finals. They're going to be in a really good position. I see them finishing on top of the ladder. They've got a bye. They've got North Melbourne. So they've got Essendon in there. So a pretty favourable draw for Port Adelaide coming home.
27 touches for Robbie Gray. He was their best, 10 score involvements. But Charlie Dixon back in form. We put him on the agenda last week, kicked 4 goals, and he stays in touch with Coleman medal leader Tom Hawkins.
really important performance for him. He was a frustrated footballer, Charlie Dixon, in the last fortnight. Just the 10 disposals combined and a couple of goals, which came from free kicks last week. But this is the powerhouse performance. So Port Adelaide set up with 3 tools, Marshall, Westhoff and Dixon, in order to get a different avenue towards goal. Now, it didn't really eventuate because Marshall was scratchy and Westhoff kicked the one but didn't have much of an influence on the game. But this is just one of the goals of the year, really, for a big man to do that and turn his opponent inside out. And you can see how important he is to the psyche of the Port Adelaide Footy Club. Set to re-sign a contract in the next fortnight as well, which will be a further boost before finals.
What's their best first final coming up? If it was, where do they go with their forwards? Westhoff, Marshall, Peter Laddams will be back from suspension. Which way do they go?
Yeah, I think it'll be dependent on the opposition. I do like the 2 rucks. So I do like Laddams. Now, he may force Westhoff out. So you'll have Laddams, Dixon and Marshall roaming in that forward line with the smalls in Rosie, Gray and Butters.
Now, Kane, the power players have been among a host of AFL players supporting the Ronald McDonald House every year, where seriously sick or injured children and their families receive the most amazing support. The charity provides a home away from home for families of those children being treated at nearby hospitals. Unfortunately, they've had to cancel a lot of their fundraisers, their balls and events due to COVID, but they want people to know you can still get involved by volunteering at your local house or donating in a McDonald's restaurant. You can learn more at rmhc.org.au. And don't forget to put November 14 in your diaries. Mick Happy Day, a fantastic initiative from McDonald's.
And what they do is at the most stressful time in any family's life, they do provide that home away from home, as you said, and that family support that these sick kids need. So any help, check out Ronald McDonald House and do your bit if you can.
All right, back to Friday night. The Dogs still without a scalp in the current top 8. And gee, the Rucks, we put on the agenda last week. It's just not getting it done for them.
No, it's not. And it did the last couple of weeks. So against the Crows, it worked. Against Melbourne, it worked. But Geelong were just waiting. They're ready to go for this tactic. They completely bullied the Western Bulldogs. And I reckon the Dogs have got a bit of an issue. When teams come after them, like the Giants did in last year's final, they do really struggle when the game's on the line to lift to the intensity and to lift to the physicality. You saw what Dangerfield did. You're seeing what the Rucks are doing here. I mean, that against a genuine ruckman, Tom Hawkins, it wasn't the first time Tim English got ragdolled in this game. So, look, he's just lucky to be playing at the moment. English, his work around the ground is okay, but his ruck work is really struggling, as you're seeing there. So, the Cats came with a plan after seeing Dunkley and Bontempelli and Bruce in the ruck for the last fortnight, and they weren't accepting anything other than a dominant performance at the stoppages. So really well coached and a great fight back.
And they don't have a great deal else. Jordan Sweet is a backup ruckman out of the Sandful. Jackson Trengove's done it in the past, but outside of Tim English, they're going to have to improvise, as Luke Beveridge has continued to say. The Cats forward line, they're looking great. No Wasava Radaglia, but they kick a winning score again. Gary Rowan playing as that second key forward. Now back to Thursday, the Tigers, massive win over West Coast, but it came at a cost. No Dylan Grimes. This is the vision from behind the goals where he injures his hamstring. Out for at least one game, Kane. Gee, they can't afford too many more without Dylan Grimes in the side. Dave Asprey also battling a knee injury.
Yeah, they can't. You see him run straight off. So, signs are good. It'll just be your standard sort of, in a normal season, a 3-week hamstring, but we'll call it 21 days in this sort of season. So he probably doesn't play before the finals with a conservative approach. They've been so good at just covering for injured players, haven't they? The way that others step up when Prestia and Edwards haven't been there. Cochin's missed some footy in recent years. So I'm not sure which way they'll go, Mitch, but what I do know is that they have a system that should be able to cover for Grimes until finals. And all they have to do is get that top 4 finish, and that'll set up Richmond beautifully with some key personnel coming back before finals.
They've got a big game between Richmond and Geelong in that period. Nathan Brawl was an emergency, so he's one who could potentially come in. The other game on Thursday night, Essendon, was all about Joe Danaher, 3 goals back in the side. But this man continues to go and reach his potential. Andy McGrath as a pure midfielder.
Yeah, I'll put my hand up. It's taken me some time to come around that he was the right pick at number 1 for the Bombers. See what Taranto's done and McCluggage done at Brisbane, but I'm starting to turn because of just how clean he is around the stoppages. Now, you watch here, he does not fumble. One grab, bang, and they're off. And that's what he's really worked on in his game, I think. And that's what's making him such a damaging midfielder. Now, he's got the complete game now, speed away from it. He uses it pretty well, and he's good with his hands. And as you mentioned, those tackle numbers as well, he's strong. So, surprising, Mitch, you alerted me to the fact that he's out of contract. Good young players like that to be out of contract when we're coming into later years and September's coming and finals are coming is unusual. Like, look, you don't expect him to leave, but unusual it's taking so long to re-sign him.
They're working on a new deal. Jordan Ridley's another one. Adam Sard, of course, Joe Danaher. COVID's held a lot of it up, but they'll need to lock him away because he's in career best form, as you said. All right, we go to the ladder next. Massive win for Melbourne tonight, as we continue to say. St Kilda, though, Kane, just hanging on, and they're back to the pack on those 8 wins.
Yeah, what a game for Collingwood and Carlton tomorrow as well. Like, just a huge game. If we want to take Carlton seriously, which we haven't, to be fair, for the last 20 years, they just have to win against Collingwood and then set up that game against the Giants next week. So big fortnight as we're seeing them in 12th position. So they need to stay in touch with the Giants. The Western Bulldogs are capable. We've seen that in patches. So huge game. Can't wait for that one between Carlton and Collingwood tomorrow.
And the Giants picked up about 5% from that win over Fremantle today, so important to keep them in the hunt. We have a look at those games to come tomorrow. Paddy Dow is back for Carlton. Jaden Stevenson back for the Pies. Can't think of too many better Blues-Pies games in recent memory.
Just looking how tall Collingwood went as well. So Cameron, Cox, Grundy will be there, Myercheck. So probably the tallest lineup they have had. Carlton reasonably tall as well. So the battle of the Giants tomorrow. Interesting. I definitely wouldn't have gone with Cox and Cameron in the same side, but Nathan Buckley clearly thinks that can work.
And Gold Coast, North Melbourne, both of those teams desperate for a win. Now, an ex-Pie is Heath Shaw singing the song today in the West. They got the 4 points. This is the last thing you need when you're celebrating with your teammates.
Yeah, the Amazon film crew just coming through and cleaning him up with the camera. But I don't know. Can we find him for staging? Because he is absolutely milked that. He's sure he's put it extra 10, 15% on that one. I would send that to the tribunal and give him a bit of a financial sanction.
All right. Let's see. Michael Christian has much to say about that. Kane Corns, thanks for that. See you same time, same place here on the round so far next week.